Get Warrior Tough, Mental Training 101 with Andrew Wittman on 105.5 The Roar. Back to Andrew Wittman.
All right, we're back in the saddle. Dutch and Andrew and Dutch, leadership, mental toughness coaches. Most monumental hour, media anywhere. The Get Warrior Tough show. Hashtag,
yes, sir.
Hashtag Get Warrior Tough. All right, so on the break, Jack was like, I thought you were going to start saying that Ohio State was like Florida State, and because I've been saying that in the house, that they look like Florida State. Remember how Florida State was just tweaking it by and squeaking by and squeaking by and just barely making it. Every game last year, they were just on the edge. That's what kind of reminds me of what Ohio State looks like this year. I don't know. That's just my take on it, man.
Well, I'm going to tell you, that's not a bad take. I think it's actually worse with Ohio State this year. Because there hasn't been a point this year where I was impressed with them. Not even one segment I've been impressed, because if you think about what they're supposed to be as the number one team, they're not impressive at all. And that's what bothers me about the polls, is that we do a preseason poll based on nothing. We don't know anything about this season.
Right, man. And I'm like looking at this stuff and I go, I must be missing something, because I'm like, I must really be dumb as a fan.
And it gets dumber, though. Check this out. We do a poll based on nothing. We know nothing about this season. We're only speculating based on last season, who's coming back. So then as we get information, we make statements like, well, we can't drop Ohio State because they hadn't lost. No, what we have is information now. We have information that maybe they weren't what we thought they were when we did the preseason poll when we knew nothing. So now I know stuff. Are they who we thought they were, not who they're supposed to be? So we're afraid to change what we thought to what we're seeing. Like when I look at Ohio State now, do they deserve to be the number one team? Not do I drop them for not losing, because the first poll was based on nothing.
Playoffs?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't talk to me about the playoffs. Exactly.
And that's the thing that bothers me when I got had a discussion with someone on Twitter, but they hadn't lost. What does that mean? Well, they don't have and one of the guys talked about style points. I said, what is style points? What does that mean?
I don't know, man.
If a team doesn't look that good and I have to do a poll, and you're charging me with the responsibility to tell you which team is best, then I look at the teams and I tell you which one looks like the best team. And just because I got it wrong when I had no information doesn't mean I have to keep getting it wrong when I have information now. And that's what bothers me about the whole poll. And you know the great thing, Andrew, it's going to come out in the wash at the end anyway, so I don't need to force anybody in there.
Right. I miss the computer, man. The computer, by the way, has Clemson like number one, by the way.
No, they don't. Do they really?
It's up there, man. They're with the old composite. It's like they would be ranking them like number one.
Well, I don't think we're number one. I don't think we're the best team in the nation. But I don't think that some of the teams that they have up there as the best are the best either. So
I agree with that. I'm not sure. Of course, I'm biased. I think that Alabama is, which I don't know. They looked like it this weekend, dude. That's your good segue, because you were going to talk about this anyway. See how I got us right into that? That was
absolutely.
I learned that in broadcasting school. Did you see? I've been taking this course online on that. No.
The big thing about Alabama is that they didn't let that one huge loss beat them twice, and that's what a lot of teams do. They get beat at home.
Well, daggone, Ole Miss let that win beat them twice, or beat them.
Yeah, that win beat them. If you look at the media and the way they anointed them, then yeah.
2 years in a row, dude. The big win beat them twice.
Absolutely. And to me, when you look at Ole Miss and Alabama, Ole Miss has that spread. They have a better quarterback this year. They beat Alabama with a crappy quarterback last year. It was due to the spread. Now, we know Alabama, they don't perform as well against the spread. So I said that Ole Miss-Alabama game is not an indicator of how good Ole Miss is, and it's not an indicator of how bad Alabama is. Alabama could go run the table the rest of the way, but if they face a competent spread team with a good mobile quarterback, they're in trouble. Now, the mobile quarterback has to be able to throw as well. He's not just mobile, but he has to be able to throw the ball too. Right. And Chad Kelly was both. Now, one more thing I'm going to throw in as a wild card, Andrew. Even when Ole Miss scored, they were very fortunate. There were some fluky plays in there that no one really talked about.
Right.
As they were praising Chad Kelly, which he deserved some of the praise because I thought he stood tough. But, some of those touchdown plays were kind of, dare I say, lucky?
Right, and I mean, and then Ole Miss was having a hard time with Florida, man. Florida was more of a pass rush.
Well, Florida has the personnel.
Yeah.
that when you spread them out, they're fine. They still have speed. They still have perimeter type athletes where Alabama's going to beat you in that box. They're power. They're built for power.
They're a brick wall,
strength.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
Hard to move the wall side to side. Sure.
Yes. And most of college football, with the exception of the Big 12, is still built where Alabama will kick their behinds. And that's the thing. So if Alabama could ever weather the storm against the 1 or 2 spread teams, the Texas A&Ms and the Ole Misses of the world, if they can weather those storms and figure that out, then there's not many other teams that's going to be able to beat them.
Now, as a coach, so I'm just thinking this from the coaching point of view. If I'm Nick Saban, do I recruit a couple guys and have like almost like 2 different defenses, and I have so when I'm playing the spread, I have some guys that are just specialists in that?
It's very difficult to do that.
It's hard to do that. See, I don't know.
Yeah, you are who you are, and the way you build that team, you almost have to make a decision. Now, you can try and go hybrid. I think Clemson's done a good job of going hybrid, but that takes time. We didn't commit to one way or the other. The other thing is our players practice. They see a spread offense, so it gives them some experience against a spread team because they practice against them. Alabama's practicing against a power team. They're practicing against a traditional, a more traditional offense with power running backs and what I hate to say it, but real football, because I hesitate to call the spread real football, even though I love it. I have to be honest. It's not my dad's football.
Right.
So,
right.
But again, I love it, and I love that Clemson does that. But again, Alabama, they would have to start some hybrid situation. And again, they're not in the same situation as a Clemson who gets to practice against. They get to see it, multiple times, and because their own offense does it. Alabama's at a disadvantage, but it's only a couple teams on their side that do it, and they still have to have Ole Miss and Texas A&M still have to have really good personnel, and that's not a guarantee either. Ole Miss is in a very unique spot right now where they have very, very good personnel. That's not normally the case. When those guys leave, we got to see if they're able to replace the Kim Deechees of the world on defense, the Chad Kelly, the Treadwell, some of those guys. Are they replacing those guys? When those guys leave, Alabama could be back to the dominant force.
And everybody thought Auburn was doing that. It's like there's the system, and I want to kind of talk about this system thing. This is what kind of Auburn had this idea, and they were so high in the polls they were going to win the SEC West because they were just going to have this plug-and-play quarterback was coming up, and and it's the system. Well, what happened to Gus Malzahn's system, man? The wheels came off the Gus bus, man.
Yep. You got to have it's like I said about Chad Kelly. When you look at Cam Newton when he came through with Auburn, the guy has to be able to run and pass. He can't just run or just pass. He has to be proficient at both, or Alabama's going to get you.
Okay, so now here's my question. I'm going to segue over into the NFL. And this is a question that's been on my mind for a while. And then this past week, your Redskins eked out a win against the Eagles.
Yeah.
Right, and not saying that's. I mean, the Eagles. They're just awful this year, man. And I got to go to Philadelphia here in a couple weeks. And I was hoping they would win a couple games, because these people are just going to be mad, man. The whole city is going to be mad. And they were not happy. I was up there in the spring and the summer when Chad Kelly was ripping all of the talent off of the squad and just shipping the talent out. And his whole mantra was, it's a system, and I don't really need any talent. I don't need talented people. It's all about the system, and everybody's replaceable, next man up, and they're just a cog in my system. Dutch, here's my question for you, man. Does that even work in real life, that we just take the people element out and we could just have a cog and we got robots in there? Is it an assembly line?
No, it doesn't work. Not at the level where people have developed into human beings.
Yeah, right.
People have experiences. They have opinions. They know that they're able to express those opinions. They have freedoms that you can't do that. Now at the collegiate level, you can kind of do that because those people are still under your command, so to speak. They're still yes sir, no sir. They still feel beholden to you because you gave them something. Once you get to professional level, they understand that, hey, I've given you something too. You're paying me a lot of money to do this. I have ownership in this from that. At the collegiate level, they don't have the same
leverage,
the rights, the feelings, the freedom to do this and do that. They still feel like they're in their parents' house at the collegiate level.
Well, and they
the
kind of
NFL,
are.
They're grown men.
Yeah, they kind of are. In the NFL, you're a 1099 contractor, man.
There you go.
Right.
And they know it.
I mean, they are their own business. Every one of them is their own business.
Yeah, and you better respect it. But the other thing is the value that's created when you do it the other way. When you talked about Pete Carroll before, Pete Carroll has a very unique relationship with his players. He brings them in. He gives them ownership. He lets them help with the process. He treats them like people. It's very very well known. But the funny thing is, he did that when he was back in college. He had a very particular relationship with his players, where he gave them the opportunity to give input. He was one of those coaches that loved on his players, and they knew it, and he treated them like family in a true sense. That worked. Now he took that to the NFL with him. We saw how that kind of works now for him. Chip Kelly kind of did the opposite. Chip Kelly kind of went the route that you're to be I speak to you, you don't speak to me, kind of thing. You do what I say. Trust my system. I don't need to know what's going on out there by you. You just do what I say. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work at this level. I hate to say it.
Yeah, kind of like when Spurrier went up to pros, he was like, "I'm playing golf, man. You guys work too hard up here. Right? Yeah. I mean, everybody has to reinvent the wheel kind of deal. But my question is, so Kelly thinks, okay, so here's this whole thing, is this is my system. And even with Gus Malzahn, we say, oh, here's my system. I am a firm believer that if there's people are involved, they're not just cogs, man. They're not just robots. If they were, we'd play the game with robots.
I got another one for you that kind of hits home. Tom Coughlin up with the Giants. I had a buddy that worked for him as a coach down when he coached Jacksonville Jaguars. Yeah. He did a very good job with Jacksonville.
That's how he got the job at the Giants, right?
Absolutely. Now, his military style, I thought he crossed the line with the stories that my buddy would tell me. He crossed the lines with his military style. When he went to the Giants, it came to a head with the veteran players who knew their value, knew their worth to the system. So he didn't get rid of his military background, his military input, but he created a relationship with his military experience and those players' experiences, and he took the best of both worlds and he put them together. He came up with an idea, a system, a program, a process that had them winning Super Bowls. Again, he didn't get rid of his military background. That was very instrumental in his success. Right. But he took that the element of, in the military, you follow orders. You got to follow orders or people die.
And I'll tell you, no, that's true. But there's also, this is what we do at Get Warrior Tough and in the Phalanx. We take all the best stuff of the warrior culture. We take all the best stuff, and I leave the garbage. Anything that doesn't help us, I leave, because there's a lot of stuff that doesn't help in the warrior culture. Okay, I'll just be honest with you. We were, just having objective reality. There's hazing and harassment and some belittlement, and that's not our finest hour, okay? And those aren't our finest attributes. Well, what you and I do when we take this warrior culture, we take all the best stuff of it, and then we apply it. The
human factor,
right? And that's
what Tom Coughlin did when he went to the Giants. He took his wonderful military experience and he included a little bit more human factor in there, and it was a great situation.
Right, and that's what my mentor, Colonel John Falchetti, did. He took the piece where he loved his guys, and when you love your people and your people know that you love them, you can get away with a lot of stuff like we were talking about last week of yelling or whatever, or course corrections and all that. If I know you love me, I will take your course correction, I will receive it, and I will just march on and know that you're doing it because you love me. All right, we got to go to break, Dutch, and when we come back, we're going to pick up on this, man. This is a good topic, dude.
A company that has happy employees will be more effective. A company that has employees that know how to deal with obstacles and problems will make more money. A company that gives their employees the tools to make those things happen is the company that turns to Andrew Wittman. Andrew has been teaching leadership, performance discipline, emotional intelligence, critical thinking, and mental toughness for almost 30 years. He's a veteran with combat experience in the Marines and experience as a police officer, federal agent, and security contractor for the State Department. His keynote speeches, half-day, and full-day seminars are engaging, effective, and energizing. Your employees will leave feeling empowered. They'll learn how to foster better communication, build strong working relationships, develop crisis and conflict management skills, and more. Visit GetWarriorTough.com to read testimonials from people just like you. GetWarriorTough.com.